A very good morning to you all from the ENCA Money Desk. I'm Ropiwa Madzena, and we're focusing on China this hour, where that economy recorded growth in their latest GDP data for the third quarter of the year, indicating that the economy is recovering. For more on this, let's speak to our CGTN correspondent, Chen Tong from Shanghai. A very good morning to you, Tong, and thank you for joining us. What were some of the biggest contributors to growth in the third quarter in the world's second biggest economy?
Well, yes, the performance was actually beyond many people's expectations, and this indicates a higher probability of achieving the government annual target of around 5% for GDP growth this year. And I would say there are three major contributors to such growth. Well, one is without doubt the steady recovery of the consumption sector. In the first three quarters, the total retail sales of social consumer goods rose 6.8% year-on-year, and the Statistics Bureau says consumption contributed over 80% of the country's economic growth in the first three quarters, and other two sectors, including the industrial sector and foreign trade, were also the main pillars to such strong economic recovery.
Yeah, and I mean, the data also showing us that the COVID-19 pandemic and accompanying lockdowns did have an impact on the private sector and its level of recovery.
Well, that's right. During a press conference last week, China's Statistics Bureau said private companies were hit hard by the pandemic and they needed time to recover. And in the first three quarters, private fixed asset investments dropped by 0.6%. It's a decline, but such decline narrowed from the figure recorded between January and August. And we also have to know that 1/3 of the private investments go to the property sector, which is seeing a sluggish performance at the current moment. If we exclude the real estate, private investments actually grew by more than 9% in the first three quarters. And a survey conducted by the Statistics Bureau also shows private companies' confidence is actually gradually picking up. So I think though the private sector was hit hard by COVID, it's gradually recovering at the current moment.
Now, government has had to step in quite a bit over the last while with economic recovery. Tell us about the kind of stimulus that a government has introduced. I know one of them has been the key lending rate and the dropping thereof.
Well, yes. I also want to take consumption as an example. Well, just as I mentioned earlier, these two sectors, the consumption sector has been performing quite well. And the government has launched a variety of policies to support the consumption sector. Well, if you come to China, you will see consumers back to the scenic spots and the shopping malls. Well, I'm based in Shanghai, so I can tell you the city has welcomed a lot of tourists during the National Day holiday, which was in the beginning of October. And the scenic spots were giving out ticket discounts, and the shopping malls were actually giving out coupons to consumers. But more importantly, the Statistics Bureau said last week at a press conference that the most crucial thing is to ensure people have the abilities to consume. And that is to say, stabilizing the economy and improving people's income. And these two steps will be the major task for the government in the future. And as you mentioned, other policies such as the fiscal policies, monetary policies have also been launched during the past weeks to support private companies and to boost people's consumption behaviors.
Yeah, I mean, if we focus on the fixed asset investment, Tong, the consumer spending, that's an important component of China's growth. And you've just spoken to the consumption and the improvement and the stimulus that's been added there. I mean, if you could highlight the importance of that particular sector of the economy going forward.
Well, I would say still consumption will be a very important task for the country to tackle with in the near future. Consumption sector was hit hard by the COVID, of course, last year and also in the beginning of this year. But as I can tell from Shanghai that because the city as well as the central government have been launching a variety of policies to stimulate people's consumption. So during the holidays, such as the Labor Day holiday and the National Day holiday, there have already been a lot of people coming out to travel, especially travel, because, during the past 3 years, because of the restrictions, people were not allowed to leave the cities. But now they have opportunities to travel to other cities to enjoy the scenic spots. So travel is obviously a very important part. And also, I think in the future, the important thing will be consumption. You know, I'm based in Shanghai, and the China International Import Expo will be held next month. And according to what we know, this year there will still be a lot of foreign companies showing their latest products to Chinese consumers next month. And also a lot of companies from South Africa will also come. So we are looking forward to seeing more products next month to see how these foreign products will stimulate people's consumption passion in the future.
Absolutely. And of course, hopefully we'll get to catch up with you a little later on in the week or closer to that particular event so that we can get the latest insights. That is Chen Tong joining us from Shanghai for the update on China's economy this morning.